Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back. This is going to be a follow-up to my Outcome Memories review. So if you haven't gone and seen that, I recommend going to watch that first before watching this video. I cover a lot more over there at a more broad angle and a scripted angle. That way you can get more of a general review for the game. This is going to be a little bit more in-depth and less scripted compared to what I did over there, and it's just gonna be me giving some suggestions when it comes to what I would eventually like to see put into the game. Now, there's one caveat I am gonna make just before I even talk about anything, and that is I understand that the developers are trying not to do too many tweaks to the characters because they've already spent a lot of development time making these characters, making them the way they are, and obviously there's a lot for this game in development right now, so having to constantly go back and do a bunch of balance changes to characters is something that they're not really wanting to do at the moment. But I do think there are some things that they should at least consider looking back on, just because there are some pain points that the more you play the game, the more you're going to see them, right? And that goes with any game, obviously, not even just like in the Roblox survival genre. Any game is going to have pain points, right? And the more you play a certain game, the more you're going to have to experience those and play around those. So the reason I want to make this video is just to point some of those out and hopefully at least bring some like discussion as to some of at least what I consider to be some pain points for the game and what could potentially be done to fix them. I'm not sure how long this video will be. I'm hoping it's a little bit quicker, so bear with me if it's a little bit longer, but I'll try to get through these as fast as I can. So, first off, I'm going to be talking about the survivors. Two characters I think are totally fine, and that is Tails and Eggman, and that's why I just didn't go and get footage for them. I think they're fine. I know that a lot of people consider Tails to be the worst survivor in the game, me included. However, they are already planning on doing things to fix that. For example, according to the wiki, at least in the next big update, Tails will be a lot more useful. His glide will now be able to pick characters up, and there will just be some other things that will be benefiting Tails quite a bit. So I think with those in mind, Tails is going to be fine. Eggman is also a fine character. I don't think he's got a problem. He's a great survivalist. He's fun, whatever. The first character I'm going to talk about here is Amy. Amy is for the most part, a really good character. I actually think she's one of the best characters in the game. I know that might be a bit of a hot take. I think Amy is top 3 characters in the game, not even close. But there are two things I do wish that they would fix. Number one, the moon card. It is the card that gives her that fog, but also in turn gives her teammates certain buffs. I think this card is pointless. I think they need to rework this card or make it more useful. This is the only card that I consistently get rid of just because of how awful it is. So it's not that useful. I don't see 90% of my teammates using it at all, let alone like using its benefits as a teammate. So they just need to make this something else. I think it would benefit Amy a lot more if it was just something else. The other thing is making it clear what each card does in game. I should not have to go to an external resource to understand what all the cards do. Just info cards. I said this back in the general review where I mentioned that every survivor needs to have an info card as well. Amy is no exception, and probably the one that needs it the most. She needs something that when you're in game, you know what each card does. Even if it's just like a little symbol on the card telling you like, oh, this card has a green plus, it probably heals me. Oh, this card has like a fist, maybe it does more stun potential. Something like that would be beneficial, but they just need to make it so that every card has it like a clear indicator of what it does. Because right now, a lot of new players, and obviously a lot of people in this game are new, a lot of new players aren't going to understand what the cards do, and I've seen a lot of people get upset when it's like, why did I take so much damage? Why did I die quicker? And it's like, well, what card were you running? Because some cards actually make you weaker, right? So that's something I think that should be at least considered, something to make it a little bit better. Next is metal. And there's only really one change I would put to metal, and this is something that I'm kind of leaving open, but making it so that you can't just constantly target Metal. I've seen a lot of games where Metal is a very easy target because of the fact that he only has 1 life. Yes, he has 175 health, but Metal for some reason is really, really easy to target and really, really easy to punish if you know what you're doing, right? Um, it kind of sucks because I think Metal is one of the best characters, like fun-wise in the game. He is a very, very fun character, but getting targeted as Metal is just so bad. Like with other characters, typically you can at least find other teammates to help you. With Metal, 90% of the time, it just feels like once you're getting targeted down, there's not a lot you can do unless your teammates are like actually coordinated. But obviously, like I would say 80% of your games, you're not gonna have very coordinated teammates. You're not gonna really understand what's going on, and you're probably just gonna get targeted out. So making it so that there's something that you can do to not get targeted so much, I think would benefit the game quite a bit. Again, I don't know what that would be. That's just something I'm leaving like more open. Next is Cream. I think she's actually pretty good. The only thing that I would say is she needs a way to find survivors. Currently, especially on the Hill Gym and the You Can't Run maps specifically, finding survivors is a pain. And I notice a big pain point for Cream is that there's just not really a good way to find people. Typically, you have to go to them, and between having a EXE constantly on them, or an Executioner, I guess, having an Executioner constantly on them, and the maps being as big as they are, and sometimes as confusing as they are, trying to find people can be really difficult. So I think having a passive or something that would let her see people that are injured would be helpful. Maybe only in a certain radius, unlike Amy, because Amy has a card that lets her see like everyone. I think that isn't what Cream needs. Could that just be too busted? But something that at least lets her see like people who are critical, like really, really in need of healing, would be helpful. Next, and I lump these characters together because I think they both suffer the same problem. Sonic and Knuckles both have a problem where I simply describe it as they're too self-reliant. And these two characters in particular, I think, have a huge pain point for the game where it is really annoying sometimes to go after them, especially as Executioner, because of how self-reliant they are. With other characters, there's usually a pretty easy way to punish them, but Sonic and Knuckles in particular just don't have that, right? I would say more Knuckles than Sonic. Sonic you can punish at the cost of using your cooldowns in a very not so efficient way. So once you use them, obviously, like, you can't really use them for what they're intended to do, which is finding other people. Instead, you're kind of using it just to bait out abilities, which, I mean, it is technically something you can do, but it's not always that great of an option to do. Knuckles in particular, though, is just really, really annoying sometimes. Because if you're playing Knuckles correctly, and granted, like, always hitting your counter like that, that's not going to happen. However, in theory, you can have a stun every 10 seconds against Knuckles, which means there's very little downtime where, as an Executioner, you can go after him. And as well as having the whole iframe thing where he can hit you even while you're still stunned, like, he's a really good character, and he's a little too self-reliant. So I think they need something to just make them a little bit more team-dependent. My solution, and again, I don't know if this is something that would be perfect, but just increasing his cooldowns by like 5 seconds, or at least Punch. Punch, I think, should be a 30-second cooldown instead of a 25-second cooldown, because like Amy's hammer throw, for example, is 30 seconds. Why is Knuckles' Punch 25? So making them specifically team dependent, I think, would be pretty helpful, but that's just me. Next, and this is the biggest pain point right here, the Executioner kind of sucks. 2011X kind of sucks. They actually just did a poll recently where they said, like, how would you specifically consider his power to be at? And everyone said, too rage mode reliant. And I fully agree. putting less power in the rage mode is something that should have been done before the game came out. It is stupid. It is really dumb how good rage mode is. And they do need to make it so that like other effects are better because of like other abilities need to be better because of it. But there's just too much power in rage mode. It is a server wiping ability for 90 seconds, which is absolutely bonkers. And I said this back in the general review, but rage mode is the only ability that I genuinely think needs a rework, like immediately. I know I said earlier, like, Amy's little moon card could be reworked, and I still kind of stand by that, but like, specifically, first and foremost, rage mode needs a rework. Or, if you're not gonna rework it, either it needs to be nerfed, like significantly, or it needs to have way less uptime. It's too good right now. And the problem is that when he's really weak normally, going from too weak to server wiping with the press of a button is really dumb and really unfun for both sides. So they need to rework rage mode. And as I said in the general review as well, the fact that it also promotes being stunned over and over and over when there's already a stun prevention mechanic in the game and they're buffing the stun prevention mechanic in the game, there is no reason that rage mode should be obtained through stuns. It needs to be something else. It should, like, downs maybe, or like, I don't know. I don't know what they would do. I don't know how they would do it, but it needs to be something else because right now it's just really, really dumb. To balance this, first off, I think that invisibility's detection range should be a lot further, if not the entire map. I don't see why it shouldn't be. I understand like trickery already kind of does that for you, but invisibility specifically should have better detection. That doesn't mean he should be able to teleport to anyone on the map. I think that'd be really stupid. But at least being able to see everyone or have a much larger radius to see people would be a lot better than what it is right now. Second off, I think that trickery should be a little bit more obvious to play into. Like, the flashes specifically need to be either there for longer or just more obvious in general. But I think it should also be more punishing if you get hit by it. Like, if you're gonna make it easier to recognize, in turn, they need to make it so it's more punishing if you get hit by it, right? And this would also kind of help with some of the characters being too self-reliant, right? Like Sonic, for example, can just bolt away. So then you could use trickery to, in theory, punish him for trying to do that, right? Or like, whatever that case would be. But I think that it should be more obvious, but it should also be more punishing, because right now trickery is a kind of brain dead ability. It's not that interesting. So making that, or again, I hate to say it, but a rework. I don't think it needs a rework though. I think this ability is fine as is. It just needs to be more obvious. So that's everything for the characters. That's all I have for characters. There's a few other things I wanted to talk about in terms of quality of life. Number one, and I don't know if this is planned, I hope this is planned, you shouldn't be locked in spectator mode if you die. At the very least, let players browse the shop or do something in between, but I don't like having to sit in spectator mode for upwards of 5 minutes because of just being unable to do anything. You should at least be able to go browse the shop, browse your inventory, do that stuff. Because right now I think the only thing you can do besides spectate is check your settings, and I don't know why that is. So I think being able to do something else after dying would be nice. Second thing, I don't like when I'm in the shop and the round starts without me, so pulling players out of the shop would be nice. Just pull them out, put them in the game. If they want to stay in the shop, there's an AFK mode already, so I don't understand why it doesn't pull you out of the shop to go into the game. Just make it so that it pulls you out. A great example of this is like Die of Death, where it'll actually do two pulls, so the first one will pull you out of the shop, and then the second one will put you in the game. I think that would work just fine. Just have like one instance when the game starts where it pulls everyone out of like menus that like aren't AFK, and then the second one is when you're put into the game. I think that would work way better, at least in my opinion. Last thing, and this is more down the road, this is something that I would just think would be nice, but this is very personal, having character presets in the inventory. Just something where like basically you can save a certain outfit, and that way you can have multiple outfits per character saved. I know that would be a very technical system. That's why I'm saying it's very quality of life and very down the road. I wouldn't expect this for a really, really long time, but character presets would be pretty cool, just so that, again, we can have like 2 or 3 like outfits per character saved, because there's already a lot of cosmetics in the game, and a lot of them look good, and some people would like to be able to kind of switch between different outfits. So I think like a preset would be nice, where you can like save an outfit to a preset. That would be kind of cool, but again, very down the road. So that's everything I have. I didn't mention maps, and that's because I think maps are fine. I don't know why people complain so much about the maps. I think they're fine. Even like pre-nerf not perfect was fine. I think a lot of people are just complaining too much, but that's just me personally. I think not perfect is actually, funny enough, not perfect is my favorite map. I think it's a very fun map. I don't know why people complain so much about it. It's probably just because they're a Sonic main and they can't peel out on that map specifically. I don't care. I really don't. But anyways, yeah, I think maps are fine, and otherwise, that's everything I have. So again, I just wanted to make this as something to kind of spark some discussion, because I think it's always nice to have some discussion, and I think this game, with it being so early, this is one of the best times to bring up suggestions, with it being so early and with development being in full swing. Hopefully some of these suggestions can be considered, and I don't want these to be like an immediate thing, right? Like, obviously development priorities exist. I know that development is a hard thing to do, so I'm not saying this is something they need to immediately go off and work on. I'm just saying that this is something that would be nice, that eventually could be put in the game for balance changes, quality of life, all that good stuff. So all these are things that I have made in hopes of just bettering the health of the game before we reach a point where we just need a straight up health patch. Because usually once you get to the point where you need a patch just for like quality of life health updates, usually that means your game is in a rough state. So hopefully we don't get there. I think it's not there at all. I think it's in a great state right now. I just think these changes would be nice to make sure we don't reach that point, you know? But that's all I have. If you have any suggestions, I would like to hear them. I'd like to be able to talk about them. Yeah, that's all I have. So I hope you have a great rest of your day. Hopefully this is interesting, and I hope I get to see you soon. Later.